I'm Maggie. I'm a licensed clinical psychotherapist with degrees in psychology, theology, and marriage and family therapy, a national certification in dialectical behavioral therapy, and a national certification in integrative mental health. In this video, I'm not looking to diagnose anyone. I'm only willing to offer insight into situations like these. Maggie Thompson is presenting the work titled The Book of Knowledge, The Keys of Enoch, written by J.J. Hurtak. Maggie Thompson is not validating nor supporting Hurtak's views, epiphanies, visions, beliefs, or words. Maggie Thompson is simply presenting the work as written and is attempting to translate this extraordinarily esoteric work to a common vernacular and understanding. Further, Maggie Thompson understands this work to be solely concerning the Abrahamic religions of Judaism, Christianity, and Islam, and while Hurtak views his work to be the key or keys to uniting all the world's people under one religion, namely Abrahamic, Maggie Thompson does not support this premise whole cloth. However, this work does give depth and insight into the connection of physics, cosmology, biology, and spirituality, which, for the seeker of divine truth, can be invaluable for the discovery of one's place in the universe, and that may be under the hierarchy of Yahweh, the Ancient of Days, or a hierarchy that exists above or beside such deities, or none altogether. Maggie Thompson implores all seekers of knowledge to, letter A, not accept what a person of authority tells you without validation. This includes looking at critiques and the opposing views with an open mind. Letter B, accept that religion, as well as science and politics, is presented as a means of indoctrination and is always presented with the biases of the overall field or system, the authors of texts, and the presenter, whose goals are to convince you of the, quote, truth, end quote, of their premise or premises. Letter C. It is possible to take insight, truths, and information from a biased work. Any body of work for the purpose of deeper meaning and knowledge must be carefully excavated and carved to glean wisdom. And letter D. No work or bodies of work that is believed by a large group or populace of people should be dismissed out of hand simply because you do not believe it. We live in a diverse time where religious belief takes center stage in the governing of the collected masses. To truly understand the barriers and gateways to your personal success and fulfillment, you must accept that believers of any kind can and will do what is necessary to meet their goals.
Hello, hello. We made it all the way through all of the cautions. All right, so we are talking about today the Book of Knowledge, the Keys of Enoch, key 3-0-3, which is on pages 359 to 375. That chapter is about whole light beings, WHOLE, whole light beings. But before we get into it, let me say hi to some people. Adric is here first. He says it's on. And Auntie is here next. She said hi with the triple P sign, my favorite Auntie. Leon is here. Yes, Leon, I have not gone through all the videos yet, but I am looking at the Columbus stuff and especially, the Ghana spheres. So definitely good stuff. So appreciate that. Adric says live tribe rules. And he's right. This is the best live tribe on YouTube. So for those of you watching from the clouds, please feel free to come into the chat, say hello. As long as you're appropriate, you'll be fine. Adrian is here. He's telling everyone, let's go. Thank God I don't have to take a breath in the middle of that. All right, so key 3-0-3 says, the keys to future luminaries are whole light beings who will give energy codes for limitless intercommunication between living universes and, quote, the power of righteousness and compassion, end quote, which holds love-powered radiations together in the cycles of, quote, the eternal inheritance. Huh, that was a mouthful. All right, we're going to use multiple concepts to make this excessively esoteric work into something not soteric. I will be critiquing his premises as well as offering some guidance because it became clear to us that this book is sort of like the baby of Jewish mysticism and Christian dispensationalism. We can take apart this work and really dig into it to figure out what these Christian nationalist global powers are up to, or what they're trying to pretend to be up to. The full reading of this chapter is available on my channel. You can watch it before, after, or not at all, because I'm going to read highlights. So let's dig into it. All right. So we'll start with highlights. Beloved, I am calling your minds forward to the eternal present. Quote, the Lord has sent his messengers of light, end quote, to reveal his angelic hierarchy. And I would have you remember from the beginning of this cycle that the Lord God ordained angelic emissaries who are in accord with the office of his Son to teach these things to the planets, to love the Father and to love one's fellow spirit in all kingdoms of creation. Doesn't that sound sweet? It sounds sweet, honestly, but I kind of want to figure out what he's talking about. All right, so he says, all their codes of limitless intercommunication are keyed to go from Tav to Jah, or Yah, it's J-A-H, which is the synthesis of all of the light emanations of the Holy Sephiroth giving divine instruction. Therefore, the future luminaries are those who wear the Jah upon their foreheads, for they have gone through the Tav to recognize the end, which has no end. The Jah upon their foreheads. The sign, it's a symbol, okay? It looks like pi with an apostrophe. It looks like the pi symbol with an apostrophe. But the thing that stood out to me in this is wearing the sign on their foreheads. Anybody else catching that? Anybody raised in the church remember about signs on a forehead? Hi, Eddie. Thanks for being here. Os to you as well. Anybody? I'm thinking signs on their hands and their foreheads. Revelation, this is Christian Bible, okay? Revelation chapter 13, verses 16 to 17. And he causeth all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark in their right hand or on their foreheads. And that no man might buy or sell, save that he had the mark or the name of the beast or the number of his name. So we've talked about issues with the King James version of the Bible before. So I tend to look at Bibles that were out before that, maybe a little closer to the original Greek. Okay, so what does the 1599 Geneva Bible say about this? A mark is a profession of outward idolatry and subjection to Antichrist, either by open consent, your forehead, or by practice and obedience, your right hand. That no man might buy or sell emphasizes that all worldly commerce and civil life was brought under the tyranny of the beast. No man could live in society unless he submitted to the Antichrist's power. The name of the beast, right, is the profession of his kingdom and religion, not simply a number, but a mark of allegiance. So let's talk a little bit about gematria, because this is why in the Old Testament and in Jewish writings, there's a lot of numerology going on, and there's a lot of talk about numbers. So I'm going to talk about gematria so you know why. In Hebrew, there is no separate numeral system. There's just letters. Okay. Each letter also represents a number. So any set of letters could be a word or it could be a number. And sometimes the number had an underlying meaning for the word, and sometimes the word had an underlying meaning for the number. Leon says small changes from the Greek to King James versions. Well, King James himself made over 30,000 changes to the Bible before he put it out. So each one of those 30,000 changes could or could not, there's some that were big, but let's say they were all small changes. 30,000 small changes is a huge change. Okay, so gematria. So the number of the name of the beast, it says, okay? Now, ancient Hebrews used this to encode or hide messages. They did this a lot in messages to one another and to hide information. So let's talk gematria to decode what her talk is saying. He wrote, the future luminaries are those who wear the Jah, or Yah, J-A-H, upon their foreheads, for they have gone through the Tav to recognize the end which has no end. Now, in Hebrew, Tav is the number 400. Symbolizes, but it also is the symbol for a mark. It means a mark. So the word Tav means the number 400, and it also means a mark. Okay. Ezekiel 9:4, God tells the angel to set a mark, and he calls it a Tav. Set a Tav upon the foreheads of the righteous, so they are spared judgment. Her talk says to go through the Tav, go through getting marked as righteous, and get the Jah instead upon your forehead. Now, it's not too bad because a lot of you already know that when people say Yah, it is like a nickname or a shortening of Yahweh, means it can mean God. However, prior to this, Yah was part of the Anunnaki, right? It was Enlil and Enki. Okay. So Yah was the good God that loved the humans. Okay. This is why I talked about what Moses heard. Okay. So, but her talk is saying, don't get the mark of the righteousness, go through that, right? The number 400, or the mark of the righteous, right? Go through that and get the Jah, nickname for God. Okay. So is her talk talking about the mark of the beast? Or is he talking about the 144,000 in Revelation 14:1? The quote is, having his father's name written in their foreheads. But the other thing, this going through the mark reminds me of Satan's little season. Have you guys heard of Satan's little season? Did you hear about it in Sunday school? Did you hear about it in church? Is it something you're just now hearing about? Is this the first time you've heard about it? So this going through the Tav to the Jah reminds me of Satan's little season. Satan's little season is the 1,000-year reign of Satan after the 1,000-year reign of God. So the way Revelation goes, the way the Apocrypha, the apocalyptic narrative goes is God, or Christ, will reign for 1,000 years, and then Satan will be loosed to reign for 1,000 years. And then at the end of Satan's 1,000 years is when the apocalypse is supposed to happen, right? And they call that 1,000 years of Satan being loosed and being able to rule the world, they call that Satan's little season. Okay. So it's the Roman M after the Greek G. Okay. So because you have Satan's M coming after Christ's reign, the Greek G, the M after the G, the MAGA. Now, I'm just telling you, if you haven't heard this stuff before, I know it sounds like I'm being hyperbolic and I'm pulling stuff out of the air. I'm just telling you things that I have heard. So the Roman M after the Greek G, the 1,000 years after the 1,000 years, the MAGA. So just something to think about. So Jesus warned, quote, many will come in my name, saying, I am Christ, and shall deceive many. That is in Matthew 24:5. The beast, so in this story, in this biblical story, this myth, the beast convinces people he's the savior only to worship the real beast. Remember what Jesus said in John. You are of your father, the devil, and the lusts of your father you will do. He was a murderer from the beginning and abode not in the truth. Jesus gave all these warnings, right? So, because there is no truth in him, Jesus said, when he speaks a lie, he speaks of his own, for he is a liar and the father of it. Again, just something to think about. I mean, we could be in Satan's little season. We could be at the end of Jesus's 1,000-year reign. We could be in the apocalypse. It's hard to say. It's a complex myth, which is why, I say he talks a lot about Christian dispensationalism, because he'll say things and they're very esoteric and they're coded. And so you have to sort of peel things apart to show that he's using Jewish mysticism to enact Christian dispensationalism. And remember, dispensationalism is those Christians who believe in the apocalypse, they believe in the rapture and the end times, and they want to do things to try to make that happen, to try to force that to happen. Thus, Israel. All the tribes of Israel have to go home to Israel. So they create an Israeli state and they're forcing it. Okay, but let's keep going. Let's keep reading highlights. All right, number 10. Hence, the messenger whole light beings who cultivate the divine seed and aid in the completion of its program of soul growth are emissaries, because they understand the mystery of undoing all the seals which were used to bind the soul between each expansion of the universe. Now, wait, we were just talking about revelations, and now he's talking about unbinding seals. It sounds like dispensationalists trying to force the apocalypse to happen. That's what it sounds like. Let's keep going. I could be completely wrong. This is the reason the program Israel was given to open the vibrations of the human soul to the sephirothic intermediaries who bring consciousness expansion so that man can cry out, quote, Abba, Father, end quote, as the Adam Kadmon body of Christ demonstrated. And we pray, quote, our Father, end quote, for restitution must be made to our Father as the source of unity for the balances of all Sun and Shekinah universes affected by the fall. So here we are again, somebody in an Abrahamic religion saying that we are born bad. We're born unhealthy. We're born with original sin. We're born as sinners and we'll always be sinners. We're, blah, blah, blah. So he's saying we're born having to pay restitution to God. How can you? You were just born. How do you already owe restitution? So, and then we have to spend our whole lives begging for forgiveness for something we had no control over. Huh? So we give our money to the church. We do our tithing, right? We pay to try to get forgiven. We give our time to the church and to God to try to get forgiven. We give our thoughts over. Oh my God, don't think this, don't think that, don't think that, only think, concentrate, pray, pray, pray. We give our successes over to God. We don't take any credit for that. We are in continual worship and contrition. We are so apologetic to God. This sounds like an abusive relationship to me. And I'm not saying that God is not real. I'm not saying what I believe. I'm saying this is yet again another Abrahamic religion that you are born bad and you owe me. You owe me. Now grovel. You owe me. And if you get anything, you better thank me and you better be appreciative or I'm going to take it all away. You think Job had it bad? I'm going to do it worse to you. This sounds like an abusive relationship to me, let alone if he could do stuff. Why do you let slavery happen? Why does he let childhood cancer happen? Why is he letting genocides happen? Like, I'm just saying. I'm just saying. Auntie says, yeah, I broke up with him. Just saying. Me personally, I like Jesus. I do not like Abrahamic religions. That's just me. And it's for these reasons. I'm a humanist. I love humans. I don't think humans are inherently broken or born having to owe restitution or are constantly sinful, dirty, bad, and unhealthy. I just don't believe it. All right, so let's keep going. 24. Oh, by the way, here's some pictures. Just some drawings of the top and the jaw and those kind of things. All right, verse 24. Thus, through the office of the Christ, this continued state of soul confusion and inability to connect with, quote, limitless intercommunication, end quote, is recognized and compensated for by the human attunement to the spiritual intermediary of the office of the Christ. It was a long sentence. The office directs the spiritual intermediaries assigned to balance the communion between the physical self and the over-self within progressive states of degeneracy. Degeneracy? Okay. But honestly, this is more of the hierarchical religious control. Like, think about it. If you could envision the most perfect religion, would it be hierarchical? Would there be people on the very bottom who just don't deserve things and they don't get things? You know, they don't get love and food and shelter and clothing and communion. Is there just some people that are just closer to God and just better than others? When I think of being in communion with God, the creator, you know, the head of heaven and earth and all the things, I never, ever think hierarchy, ever. Maybe it's just me, but this seems like hierarchical religious control. It's a pyramid scheme, right? The Abrahamic religions always have pyramid schemes. There's always somebody on top and you can't get to them, right? This double bind of either being a sinful wretch who is unworthy, that kisses the butt of Yahweh and his preachers, you know, for all of eternity, and you better do it well or you're going to hell. Like, that's choice number one. Or being a heathen, a devil worshiping pagan worthy of only use, abuse, and death. You know, this is in their view. It's a double bind. It's a double bind. It's a choice that is no choice. All right, 37. The order of the Malachim is one of the orders of the lords who supervise the programs of sovereign law pertaining to God-man relationships in every universe. These are the people, the Malachim, these are the people, the entities that tell you God's law. They tell you God's law. No, you can't see it. You can't read it. You can't look at the book. You don't get to know what the laws are. They'll tell you what the laws are. You can't question it. They are the law, like Judge Dredd, okay? They are the law. Okay. 53. The order of the Hashmalim carry the standards of justice and the weights and measures, which judge even the angels. They are the judges of the spiritual planets. It is from their ranks that the Trinity spirits are called to dispatch the original manifestation of the limitless knowledge, the Torah, or of the Ein Sof, to the planetary realms of Yahweh's angelic ambassadors. Wasn't it Jesus that said, judge not? Anyway, these are the judges, right? They decide your fate. Now, all of this, he's talking about the hierarchy of which you are. These are the uppy-ups. You are not it. Okay. They are the judges. They decide your fate. And no, you do not get to provide a defense. So just remember, as I've talked about before, Lucifer is part of Yahweh's court. He is the prosecutor. These creatures, according to her talk, are the judges. You don't get a defender. We've talked about that before. We talked about the divine feminine. You don't get a defense attorney. You don't in Abrahamic Christianity, and you don't in her talk's book. All right. The Ophanim are the messengers of light from the higher heavens of the Father, uniquely placed at the crossroads of space as the network for governing and implanting, quote, new realization, end quote. So these are the governors, okay? I'm starting to question how any of this is any different than what we have now. You know, we have these governmental structures. We have Christian nationalists who they are the judge and you don't get a defense. And we have the judge dreads just enacting punishments and sentencing people right there on the street, sometimes to death. You know, we have all this already. It doesn't sound great. I really don't know how it's different. All right. The order of the Elohim. Now, again, her talk loves changing the definition of words and things that already exist. We already know what the Elohim are. They are and have been for thousands of years the sons and daughters of El. The Elohim are the sons and daughters of El. That's how it's always been in ancient writings forever and ever. Her talk is going to change it up. Let's see. The order of the Elohim comprises the creator gods of Yahweh. So Yahweh has made a bunch of creator gods. There isn't one creator. There's a bunch of creators, and they are called the Elohim, who control the calibrations of light that are necessary to evolve all of the combinations of the image and similitude through the divine eye of the Father. Totally changed what an Elohim is. Totally and completely changed the definition, right? Now, we also have to remember, and if you haven't watched my videos on this, please feel free to go back. But Yahweh himself was an Elohim. He was not El. They are not synonymous, and they never have been in the writings. Yahweh is the 13th son of Ra or El. Those two words are synonymous because they are the creator top god in two different belief systems that overlap. But in both, Yahweh was an Elohim. All right. Let's keep going. But her talk's just going to change the definition, and then it's fine. We don't even have to pay attention anymore. All right. On the highest level of the administration of a Father universe are the 24 elders who sit in the presence of Yahweh, exchanging their commissions and glory periodically with other ascended masters. They control 24 thrones and dominions, which administer the law of central control through councils of light to all universes which recognize Yahweh. So the TVA. If you guys saw the Loki series, and you know, my live tribe knows I talk about this, that's the TVA. It literally sounds exactly like the TVA. Their timeline is the sacred timeline, and you have no say. You have no say in the matter. Again, how is this different than what we have right now? It's not. Maybe everything her talk said has come true, and this is what we're stuck with. But why must these systems always include hierarchies and layer upon layer upon layer of bosses? Like you got to beat one boss to get to the next level, you know? And look at this picture. Look at all of these white folks. Isn't that lovely? You know, this is JJ Hertalk. This is his idea, right? we have to bear in mind, we have to keep in mind, if you listen to anything I say, which sometimes I know I'm just talking, but we have a direct relationship with the Most High. Whatever you deem that to be, the Most High could be love for you. It could be a creator God. It could be source. It could literally be Yahweh. It could be El. It could be Ra. It could be whatever divine power in this universe you think there is. Maybe it's truth that you think is the Most High. But regardless of whatever it is, we have a direct relationship with the Most High. It is personal and it is nobody else's business. They don't get to tell you how to have a relationship with what you deem to be the Most High. We do not require others to be in this relationship or to dictate how our relationship goes. We don't need their help or their permission in our relationship with what we deem to be the Most High. If you believe in Jesus, which I think Jesus was great, Muhammad, Buddha, Krishna, like there have been a lot of prophets, okay? But Jesus condemned the temple leaders for their superfluous laws. He taught to pray to God directly. Buddha taught that everyone has access to the divine, not just the elites. He said each person walks their path and enlightenment is not on a priestly caste system. Muhammad preached against tribal and priestly control. In the Quran, it is stated, quote, "We are closer to him than his jugular vein," end quote. You are closer to God than his own jugular vein. He said that accountability before God does not require intercessors. Zoroaster, which I haven't talked much about on this channel, said that each soul must choose truth or lie directly before God. You have your own relationship. Guru Nanak said, there is no Hindu, there is no Muslim, there is only direct devotion to the one. Lao Tzu said that connection to the Tao flows naturally without imposed hierarchies. These are all our prophets, right? Spiritual teachers repeatedly dismantle gatekeeping by the elites over and over and over and over again. They dismantle the gatekeeping by the priests over and over again, by the institutions over and over again. They have emphasized over and over God, truth, enlightenment is directly accessible by each human. The path requires only sincerity, not approval from any authority figure, not any gatekeepers who tell you how, when, who, what, why, and where. How do we know truth? By three human gifts. This is what the prophets always tell us: instinct, intuition, and discernment, all of which our modern world seek to destroy and control. Leon said that's interesting. I'm glad you like that. Your instinct is your primal, immediate response, your gut reaction, your survival sense. This is your body clues and your sensations that will give you guidance. Intuition is your inner voice. This is a subtle perception, a quiet knowing. This is a feeling to give you guidance. And then discernment is the mind's clarity. It's the process of testing and weighing your instinct and intuition, not just disregarding it altogether. It's testing the spirit and knowing by the fruit. What? It's testing the spirit and knowing by the fruit. For each choice is its fruit. The only guidance you, I, or anyone needs is to first listen to your body instinct, then to your inner whisper, your intuition, and finally weigh both in the light of truth and authenticity. Then you have the wisdom of God, and you don't need anybody else to give it to you. All right, that's what I got tonight. It's only 38 minutes. It didn't go a super long time. But if you listen to the reading, it's almost an hour long. This chapter was very long because he details the entire hierarchy and all the myriad of thousands of bosses between you and God in his system. Thus, my pushback on all of that. Adrian says, all. For best results, make sure you always know where your charger is. I'm back now. Oh, he missed my entire speech, my soapboxing, as it were. All right, guys. So this coming Sunday is going to be Race is Not Illegal. We're going to be talking about some things that aren't commonly talked about when we talk about race being illegal, or, we hear things like walking while black, sitting on the couch while black, all these things. And it seems to be this illegal, and we talk about this stuff. I'm going to talk to you about some things going on with some other groups. Leonard Peltier, if you haven't heard of him before, I'm going to talk about him a little bit, some other groups, and we're going to go through and detail what the UN has said about how Black people are treated in the United States. There's a lot of that information, and I'm not sure everybody knows about it. So we're going to go through that stuff too. So it should be a really interesting show to dig into some information we don't often hear. People may not know about it. It should be pretty good. But then next Wednesday, I'll be back with the Book of Knowledge, The Keys of Enoch. I hope you all have a good Wednesday, and I'm going to show you a picture of my dog.
Please like the video if you haven't already. It really helps the algorithm to know what kind of things you like. Share where you think it's appropriate, especially to someone who you think needs to hear it. And don't forget to check out some of the wilder Pivot Point Wednesday shows. And last, don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already, especially if you want to break down complex concepts that make the esoteric not so teric, helping you on your journey to become your most authentic self. By subscribing, you'll join a community that thrives on curiosity and growth, and you'll never miss out on insights and some wild discussions. Let's uncover the universe together.